As of December 2025, James turned 18. He is still getting used to the attention that comes with being a member of the royal family. The teen just finished from high school. He is the son of Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, and Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Edward is King Charles's youngest brother. Finally, the moment has come. When it is confirmed, when the letters patent are sealed and the decision is made official, the British monarchy will change in a way that no tabloid headline, Netflix documentary, or transatlantic press conference could have imagined. Good ideas are out there. It's possible to solve these issues through song. There was nothing that a transatlantic news conference could have known. A young man who quietly learned how to be powerful for 18 years without ever asking for it has made the most important choice of his age. The title of Prince has been taken by James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten Windsor, the Earl of Wessex, music. By doing this, he has not only claimed a name, but also a history. He is now the true heir to Prince Philip's empire as the Duke of Edinburgh. He is also the silent engine of a monarchy that is no longer in crisis, but on a full, planned, and unstoppable rise. But before we go any further, you need to think about this question. Why is this so important right now? Princes have lived before. For hundreds of years, the system has been filled with heirs, spares, and named royals. Why is everyone watching the royal family around the world hold their breath right now, in the year 2026? What is it about this young man? Do not give up, because when this story is over, you will learn that accepting this title is more than just a law. At Balmoral, Prince Philip took a young James fishing for the first time. This marks the end of a circle that started that day. It's the keeping of a promise that was made in secret, shown through service, and sealed in the most important royal task this generation has ever seen. How heavy, music, is a name. The name itself is the first thing that comes to mind because every word has value. Theo James Alexander Philip James. The Philip is not a mistake. It was put there on purpose by a family who knew from the time he was born that this child had something music special going on. It was Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who set the tone for the modern British royalty for more than 7 decades. In the strictest sense, he was a man behind the throne. He created the culture within the throne, made sure it was followed, and kept the highest standards. The press did not always love him. People didn't always understand him, but he was without a doubt the foundation of an organization that has survived empires. When James goes by that name, Philip, it's not just for show. It's a promise. That promise is fully kept when you look at this young man, who is now 18 years old and stands at the threshold of an actual princely title. Take a moment to think about this. Of all the grandkids of Queen Elizabeth II and all the children who grew up with that amazing couple, why was it James, the youngest, quietest, and least publicized child, who learned the most from Prince Philip's philosophy? Why was it James who learned how to fly fish at Balmoral on those long, cold afternoons? That very aristocratic practice of being patient, quiet, and aware of everything around you. It was different for each of the other grandkids because they had different memories and gifts from their grandfather. Philip and James, on the other hand, had a different kind of bond. It was almost like the old Duke saw in the youngest of the line the personality trait that matched his own the most, the choice that shapes a lifetime. Now let's talk about the real choice, since James Alexander's acceptance of the HR style is not as simple as it might seem. The current letters patent, which are the laws that rule royal titles in the UK, gave him complete freedom to make his choice. He didn't have to become a prince just because he turned 18. The right to use it existed, but it was a personal, conscious, and completely voluntary act. This is such an exciting time because of that. Do this to yourself. When was the last time you saw a young man with a lot of advantages refuse to take something that was ready for him? It's been a long time since the owner to one of the most powerful names in history said, "I will take this title when the institution need me to, not when my own desire for status demands it." But James did just that. The rumors in the Golden Triangle, which is made up of Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, and Kensington Palace, were always the same after the person reached the legal age of eligibility. James was ready. He looked around. He learned something. He also wasn't going to rush for power just because it was there for the taking. This is what makes James Alexander different from almost every other royal story that has been in the news for the past 10 years. The story that everyone told for years was based on the opposite idea. The urge to ask for, claim, announce, and insist on being noticed. All of that is being fought against by what we are seeing now in the spring of 2026. It's not noisy. It is done on purpose. It's almost too grown for words. In the 21st century, it changes what it means to be a prince, music. How a prince is made. Sophia's big plan. Every real royal expert in Britain today agrees on one thing. No talk about James can go on without talking about the woman who really made him the unique person he is. Sophie, and she is the Duchess of Edinburgh. People in the house used to say that this woman was the late Queen's favorite daughter-in-law. The woman who made a choice at the start of her marriage to Prince Edward that was so out of the ordinary and against all royal tradition that it made people look twice from Buckingham Palace to St. James's. It was Sophie and Edward's choice that their children would not be called royal highnesses. These people would not keep their princely names when they were kids. They would be raised as the children of an earl, which would make them stable and normal in the best sense of the word. They would be able to handle life without the automatic attention that comes with a royal title. Music, why does this matter? It means that James Alexander had to work for his place in every room for the first 18 years of his life. It wasn't enough for him to have a title to get things done or earn respect. He had to use his mind, his skills, his character, and his heart to connect with the people and things around him. The guy took the bus. He checked for cues. He learned how to use music to connect with people from all walks of life, without the invisible wall of royal privilege standing between him and normal people. Do you understand what that does to a person's mind? Can you understand the difference between being told as a child that you are a prince and that the world will come to you and being told that you are a citizen with an amazing heritage and that you will have to prove yourself every day? That is the base that James Alexander has been built on, and it is made of rock. There is no doubt that Sophie was very smart when she realized that the myths of the past would not help the kingdom of the future. Real people who knew what was going on in the world and had lived there instead of just watching from a window would be needed. Sophie did just that by raising James the way she did. She made a prince that is real because he has been put to the test of real life. Now that he is ready to take on the full weight of his title and heritage, he knows that being himself is his most valuable asset. Listen to Philip's fishing lessons that helped him build an empire. Let's go back to Balmoral because the story of James and Prince Philip, the grandpa and grandson who had a temperament that went back several generations, is key to understanding why this acceptance of the title is so much more than just a formality. For people who don't know what it is, fly fishing sounds like a nice board in the country. What a rich man does on a nice afternoon. In fact, it is one of the hardest and most philosophically rich subjects in the history of the British upper class. You have to stand in cold water for hours at a time to fly fish well. It's up to you to figure out the exact speed of the current under your feet, the direction of the wind, the angle of the light on the water's surface, and all the other small changes happening in the environment around you. You have to be completely and utterly quiet, in your mind as well as your body. If you move around, are impatient, or make noise, the fish will leave. If you're not still, the river won't tell you anything. This was clear to Prince Philip. He didn't just fish for fun. He used fly fishing as a way to shape his character. The old Duke found his youngest grandson to be the student he had probably been waiting for his whole life on those long, quiet afternoons by the Dee. The water was cold, and the air was sharp with the smell of heather and pine. James took everything in. The stillness, the calm, the careful study of the surroundings, and the knowledge that you can't fight the current. You value what it says, read it, and follow its reasoning instead of going against it. This isn't a figure of speech. This comes from a direct inheritance in music. The silence that everyone sees when James stands at a state event. That unwavering calm that made experienced royal reporters speechless at recent high-profile events is the same calm he learned on that river. The way his eyes move around a room, taking in everything without deciding on anything right away. That is the same kind of analytical attention that you need to fly fish. During those quiet lessons at Balmoral, Prince Philip taught James more than just how to fish. He showed him how to be a leader. Plus, there's something deeply moving about that connection. Philip is now gone. Everyone in the world was sad about his death. In ways that they are still understanding, the monarchy felt the loss of his structural force. But James Alexander comes from a straight line of more than just blood. He has a strong family history that includes character, discipline, and philosophy. When James takes on the title of prince, He is really ending a transmission that began next to a cold Scottish river and was always supposed to last longer than the person who started it. The protest that made everything different. There is one picture from recent royal history that best shows what James Alexander was like overall. You need to know what happened at Westminster Hall when Queen Elizabeth II lay in state. In that huge, old room, surrounded by the most important members of the royal family and watched live by tens of millions of people around the world, the late Queen's grandchildren stood guard over her coffin. James was 14 years old. Take a moment to think about that. He was 14 years old and standing guard over the body of his grandma, who had been the most famous person in the world for 70 years. He was there during the most watched royal event of the 21st century. The grief, gravity, and sheer weight of history in that room put a lot of emotional pressure on those guys, which has made experienced politicians look like they are in trouble. There was a 14-year-old boy there. He didn't move around. He didn't look around. His lack of self-consciousness was different from what a regular teen would have shown in that setting. It was like he was concentrating very hard while standing there with his head bowed. He wasn't trying to be calm. His act of being older than he wasn't fake. He was just doing what his personality and background had taught him to do. He was doing what he had to do. He was speaking for family. He was standing like a fighter does, not for himself but for something much bigger than himself. A huge number of people saw that. Some people who were really interested in the royal family, the palace, and the Constitution paid close attention.